So we are live. First, I'm gonna ask for, is there any public comment? Any public comment online? Anybody online, Liz, that you can see? No. I don't know how you tell. No? Okay. Anybody here want to make any public comment? We do have a guest tonight who, came last time. Yes. And is. Came back. Came back. We didn't scare her off. And I think interested in becoming an alternate trustee on the trustee board. So we'll maybe have to add that under new business.
And to remind you, she is Diane Madariaga, who taught in Somersworth.
Okay. With that, we can move on to the meeting minutes of September 17th. And you all got the minutes. Earlier sent them out a couple days ago, I think. Is there a motion to approve those, or are there any edits to those? Any further edits? And is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
There a second?
I'll second.
As we're seconded. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Next item is donations. Liz detailed, I think, in her report, sorts of $235 received in September. Any questions on that?
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
It was wonderful. Those young girls
Yeah.
did that fundraiser and gave the library $200.
They were selling bracelets, right? Yeah, that was lovely. Is there a motion to accept the donations for September?
I'll make a motion to accept.
I'll second.
Oh, sorry.
I'll leave it on your rules.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Treasurer's report. Melanie.
All right, so September, we made $2.50 interest across the checking and savings accounts. And we made $220.99 interest across our 3 CDs in the month of September. And we have 2 of those CDs coming up for renewal at the end of the month. Sorry that I didn't have a chance to forward you the rates. They're down significantly from when we last talked about CDs. So I'm just going to quickly breeze over these. 1 month is at 3.75%, 2 months, 3.78%. That's the highest number. 3 months at 3.68, 4 months at 3.60, 5 months at 3.50, 6 months at 3.43%. And I'm looking for suggestions, recommendations on what we would like to do.
And all those are rates at what bank?
Those are with TD.
Yeah.
Those are at TD.
Mhm.
I just got a CD at First Savings Bank for 4 point something.
Yeah.
5 months.
Yeah.
So you might check that.
Has nothing to do with the rates or where you're going to put the money.
I'm gonna have to ask people to speak up. You're all kind of quiet tonight.
Thank you.
Well, you were quiet. I was sitting right next to you.
No, but it helps me taking notes if I can hear what people are
Yeah,
saying.
so Rob,
Has nothing to do with it. Just TD Bank, they were just fined $3 billion for doing some stuff they shouldn't have been doing.
yeah, I don't think that affects their rate,
No.
but I think that if we wanted to move monies for Seacoast, is that what you were saying? There's a little more work for you involved in getting the money out of TD and moving it over.
Right.
Um,
I mean, I'm certainly willing to look into that. It's our money, so we can do whatever we
Right.
want. I didn't ask for Seacoast for rates because these 2 accounts are with TD.
And I think if we decide we need to dip into these funds at all as we get towards the new building, we probably want to have those monies available. I mean, we'll order furniture and stuff, but we probably don't have to pay for it until it arrives. I don't know how that works,
I don't know.
but I would say, what is it? It's October.
Pick their seat.
Probably if we had the funds available by April would be okay. So if you want to do something for, I don't know how many months that is, 5 months or something like that. I think that would be safe.
Yeah, what was the 5-month rate?
3.5.
3.5.
I mean, it's certainly less than a 2 month, and it's the gamble. I don't know if Is it gonna continue? Well, who knows? I mean, the elections may have something to do with,
As rates continue to go down, like in the housing market and things like that, we oftentimes see these rates drop as well. And it's projected over the next year that the rates are gonna continue to come down. So it's kind of the longer we get into that, the lower they're probably gonna get. So I mean, it may be worth locking in a 3.5 now for 5 months, and then because we may see a lower rate than that in a couple months from now, because to do like a 1 or a 2 month, it was at
378 was the two, that's the highest number.
3.78,
Mhm.
and like that's a difference of how many dollars?
Oh my goodness.
Sorry,
it's not a lot of.
quick fun math. You don't have to answer that question. Strike that from the record.
So I think the question is, do we want to keep the money at TD or explore
For Seacoast.
for Seacoast for potentially higher
I
rates?
also got 4 something 2 weeks ago at Lighthouse,
I don't
which used to be Northeastern.
Right,
know. Oh, yeah,
right.
And I locked in for a year
yeah.
and it was 4 something.
And that's good for a year. I don't think we should lock our money up for a year because
No,
we may need it
Yeah,
related to
but
the move.
along the lines of exploring other
Yeah.
options.
Yeah.
But Seacoast donates to us, right?
Yeah.
This TD Bank. And Seacoast seems to be more of a local than TD.
So
I like
that
to
would
support
require a
local.
little effort on your part,
Yeah, but that's
I guess.
my job.
And would we want to we have 25,000 CDs. We could also do one and leave one at TD and move one over.
why would we do that? Why would we do that? I mean, get a lower rate one and not.
Yeah, I don't know,
Are there any penalties for us taking money out of funds at TD?
No, once we come to the end of our term,
Yeah.
we either renew or we come up with something.
Okay. And I have the 2 accounts that are at TD right now that are both maturing at the same time.
Within a couple of days, one's the 21st and one's the 25th.
that's next week.
If we can get a better rate for Seacoast, I don't see the harm in that. And I mean, along his lines, like it's nice to support local too, especially with someone who supports us.
Okay, so why don't I?
The only time that I would put 2 in 2 different institutions is if both of them are local and both of them are donating to us.
But TD doesn't donate to us
I'm
much.
not aware of any.
We did the foundation received a $15,000 donation towards the building just in the last month or so.
But from First League?
First Seacoast, first Seacoast.
That's
Right.
why I saw you
Yeah.
brought it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're okay with that, I think that's a
totally fine with
great
it.
idea.
And so the advice is to explore First Seacoast, but we'd want to give the authority to the treasurer to invest the funds at First Seacoast. I know you talked about if there's a promotional rate or at 4% or better.
Well, if it's like 0.1% or 0.2%, I still prefer to have it at Seacoast if it's close.
Okay, if we can get better interest rates at First Seacoast.
Mhm.
Does anybody want to make a motion to that effect?
I'll make a motion that we can move the 2 CDs to First Seacoast if we can get a better rate or a very close rate.
I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, anything else?
I think that's it for me.
Okay. We are up to the select board report.
There's not much to report except that we now own them. That Connor actually has the key to the library.
I have a key to the library.
You have a key also,
The new
so-
library and the old library.
Well, there's a double deal, but it's a done deal and the agency today is discussing just kind of information about 30%. The proposed budget is online, so I'm not telling you something magically secret, but the proposed budget is something like a 9% increase for the town budget, almost 10% for the year. And about 30% of that is the library bond. So just be aware people are going to pretty significant number of dollars coming out of the town budget for for that bond, both the principal and the interest. I didn't bring it in with me, but $150,000 a year, I think, or 114. They're two different bond things. So, I missed the other meeting, so that's all I know.
That's all you know.
That's all I know.
If something
Done
about,
our best.
I guess when we get to the building, I'll bring it up then when we get to the building.
Okay, you want to wait until we talk about the building
Sure.
later?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was a short report. Man, we are on record. Yeah, we have stopped putting times by the, maybe we're moving faster than that.
Yeah.
Okay, Liz, director's report.
Okay, you heard about the donations and those referrals were really sweet. They did it 2 different days, so they gave us like $100 each day. For those people who are going to try and give us large book donations, we will only be accepting them through October 31st for the book sale in November. If anyone asks you, we will not be accepting any donations after that time unless there's something pristine, beautiful, popular that we can't afford to buy and there's only a couple books. The next big window for book donations will probably be summer of 2025 after we move into the new library, because we don't want to take anybody's books and have to pay to move them. So we'll be referring people to Savers or the transfer station that has a book donation bin. But I know you probably get those questions about, are you still taking book donations? Only through the end of October. See. On a good note, my previous library just donated us 300 moving boxes from their renovation. They just laid down new carpet for the first time in 30 years over there. It needed it. They asked me if I wanted the boxes. We had some discussion and we took 100 and then we decided we could take the other 200 boxes. Most of them are library moving boxes for books.
Awesome.
So they told me that most of them can fit like a shelf and a quarter's worth of books in each. So that should be some hopefully significant savings on
Yes.
the
Yeah.
front.
Say something.
Be a little careful. I used to work in bookstores. Carrying books weigh heavily.
Yes.
I know. And I have, I thought it's good that the box can hold that, but
Yeah.
Yes.
But
Yeah, the people are able to.
They may have
Box.
Yeah, well, we didn't want, we've been getting boxes from like the liquor store and stuff like that. They don't hold much at all.
Yeah.
They're
because they
sturdy, but
fall.
still want to-
Yeah. That makes the books smell good.
That's wonderful.
It was nice. So then the offer, and they're like, we're not done yet. They haven't unboxed the children's section. There's potentially more that they can give to me. Our custodian did actually quit of his own accord, the middle of September. He just came in and handed me his keys and said he quit. But he got a promotion at his other job, more money. So unfortunately, he didn't really need us anymore. Right now, Wendy and I are doing the basic cleanup, emptying trash, vacuuming every other day, or washing floors every other day. Hoping to come to some conclusion with citywide soon because that's getting really old at this
Yeah.
point.
And as we left that last time, I think you and Richard were
Yes.
going to be looking at the indemnification
Right.
clause and come up with some middle of the road clause that would be acceptable.
I was told that that clause is perfectly acceptable.
The one that they have
Yeah.
in their contract?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
All right, then we're good.
so then we'll go forward with that. And we are also going to get a quote from them for the new building so that we can
Yes.
try to have some information to,
See if we can get them
Into the
over
budget.
there. Once I know they're over there now, but we're gonna try and get them over there when they could actually go through and see how many square feet they think it's going to be, because that's how they calculate the price of their services. For some reason they said we had like 4,036 square feet here, which is patently
which we know we don't have.
impossible.
Yeah, so we'll have to see how that goes, but
Yes. other than that, everything's going okay. We're getting different quotes in from Block 5, from the phone people, from the furnishing company. I can discuss that when we're on new building stuff. I think that's about it.
So I think, I'm
What have I forgotten?
just you, I know you've been looking at the budget to assess.
Oh, my gosh.
I
don't wanna go to-
Budget in time, but I'll tell you, the plans have been shifting consistently.
Right.
I don't really want to go to that budget meeting.
But you will.
But
I
you have-
know, I will. Unfortunately, with the added, if we're really gonna have to drill down into the whole Block 5 thing and stuff like that, we may not be able to afford their managed services for next year. Because some of the managed services are adding an extra $28,000 into our budget, which is bringing us up to 10 point, yes,
That's the telecommunications system?
that's the IT.
That's the IT.
That's the IT. Yeah, we have what Mike Abbott from Block 5 told us here. We have a basic, scream in case of emergency. $400 a month that if we have an emergency, we can scream to not Block 5, Back Bay, and they will dial in and try to figure out what it is. But they haven't updated any of our firewall or servers or anything like that. Whatever we put in years ago is what we still have now, and it's all
Long out of date.
And you are supposed to renew that stuff yearly, which Mike did put in that's like $4,000 to renew your firewall and your server yearly, which we've not been doing. There's all sorts of fun numbers in there that I hadn't even considered.
Well, I guess the question,
And I don't want to go before the budget committee and have to say, we need an extra.
another 20,000,
We need-
30,000.
Yeah, the budget is not, and that's even with cutting out some things, like I took out that $1,000 we thought we might like for an overdrive advantage account. I took out Heritage Quest because the state couldn't get enough interest for us to participate in that. I actually took out pest control for 6 months because I was like, if there's pests in there for the first 6 months we're there, I'm not going to worry about it. They should be gone.
We'll give them time to build a nest and somebody.
It's just,
And I think
What-
some of the communications thing,
and that's even
When the
cutting
town
out
went to
Chris's
Block
salary.
I think the library could have gone in with them.
Mhm.
And,
Years ago, yes.
and we elected not to do that. I wasn't on board then, so I don't know what the issues were. So the unfortunate thing is if we had gone in with the town would have been picking up the tab in their overhaul of their own system. And now we're sort of having to build it into our budget.
Yeah, so we look like we're now, after adding in that stuff that I got from Mike, but taking out Chris's salary, which in itself was like $10,000, we're still asking for a 10.7%
But did
increase.
the town transfer or tell us we're gonna have to pay some of the
Yes.
expenses that they used to be doing?
Yes,
Okay,
But some of these things, like with the Block 5 stuff, some of it's ongoing expenses like these licenses. The other is sort of the initial investment.
The initial
We're gonna talk
investment.
about that under communication system, which is under new business.
yes, so the budget is challenging.
Can we take from our check fund that we've been setting
Yes,
aside money?
We have
How much do you have?
$12,900 in there.
yeah. And Liz will give you the breakdown later. That's a drop in the bucket. Well, it's more than a drop in the bucket, but it's not enough to cover everything. Okay.
in the library, so the state is slowing down in the library loan then
They're
delivery?
not doing it intentionally or purposely. They're running into, they're fully staffed now, but they still have a lot of people calling out sick. A lot of routes aren't getting done. If somebody calls out who does a major route, then they will swap somebody from a North Country route to that route, so they get done, and then North Country doesn't get their service, but that's
So the ILL,
the ILL system is all over, and they've been doing upgrades to the actual NAS system itself, which have caused. One day Kate was in there, not sure what the problem was because everything that had come in had already been checked in that system, but she hadn't touched it. So I don't know. We discussed it on the director's call, and they were so short-staffed this summer that the state librarian, the assistant state librarian, the digital services librarian were all out in vans or sorting the books. And they wanted to know if they're like, that's not the best use of their of their time. And they're way overpaid for that. But we all agreed that that was actually the primary service that everybody in the state wants. So keep doing it. So they're not doing it intentionally. They're just having a heck of a time finding substitutes and people who will continuously come in and drive. Plus, they've had weather-related issues. The North Country had flooding in the summer.
And on the automatic renewal, you said consider that. Are you gonna do that?
We're considering it we used to do it over in Nottingham. You get your 3-week session. The system will automatically renew it for another 3 weeks as long as there's nobody waiting. And then everybody gets 2 renewals. So we're thinking of offering the first renewal automatically. System does all the work for you. The only problem is sometimes patrons are confused because it will email you or text you when it's going to do it. And if you don't read the email properly, we get questions.
Well, after a while, they'll understand. You did
Yeah.
the same thing for DVDs and?
Yes. And anything that is renewable, not your ILLs.
Right.
Those have to be called in. Anything that is renewable that is not being waited for by another patron should be able to renew that one time. If then you need it for more than 6 weeks, we aren't going to automatically renew it. If you want it, you'll have to come in or give us a phone call.
Can you renew that second time online?
I think
You can.
I think we would, you'd be able, if you're logging into, if you're doing something yourself, should be able to do it, but you will not get anything beyond that. It worked over there. We had fines over there, so it gave people that 6 weeks without having to worry. We talked about letting them have 2 automatic renewals, and I don't want to go there.
Well, some people just like, oh, I don't get around, it just sits there waiting. to come
Yes.
back and-
I'll get it for 9 weeks. I'm not going to worry about it, or they'll lose it
In that time.
if you're not reminded that
Yeah.
it's waiting. So I think 1 automatic renewal will work, so they'll have the 6 weeks. But it's just a matter of training the staff at the front desk, because when you sign people up for library cards, you do have to mention that it will accept.
Yeah.
So we're considering that because it will really cut down on the amount of staff time, particularly Kate and Joe, who are doing the overdue reminders.
Yeah.
If you don't have to call somebody after 3 weeks, you have to call them after 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Some
that
of those
sounds
people
like
only
crazy.
need it for another 2 days or something and calling them and doing the whole shebang. So it would save some staff time. And for the summer, if we're going to be closed for a period of time, and those people don't have to worry about their renewals, we don't have to be on the phone with them, it might work better.
Okay, and I think the other thing I always look at the stats that Liz sends us every month, which are really helpful. And I should let you know this, I have been forwarding the last couple of reports to Roger at the foundation because a lot of grants ask.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I said, here's the best and most up-to-date data, but I noticed, particularly looking at last year, the activity is up, the card holders are up. You know, it's just a steady climb, which is good. I think it's partly the kind of programs the library is offering, and it's partly, I think, the continuing interest because we're getting a new library. It's brought more people in as well, so. Okay, if you're okay with that, we're gonna go on to old business. And we had a committee review the MOU that Connor had drafted and given to us. We drafted up something, gave it to Connor. Liz and I met with him. He wanted to make some changes, which he did, sent that over. As you remember, at our last meeting, we took a quick look at that and realized it would require more thought and research. And so we had a committee of, I know it was Melanie and Lydia and
Richard.
and who? Richard, and of course Liz. So they had a couple of meetings. I think you guys did a thorough job, and I forwarded that out to everybody, but not until like yesterday, last night, I think. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at that? Who is gonna walk us through the changes and what you're recommending?
You know, I don't have, I didn't, I have your change. Okay, so I can just say what our procedure was. So Richard was away during our first meeting, so just Melanie and Liz and I met. And we kind of just went through Connor's, you know, his what he had presented and just looked at our RSAs and, you know, where maybe there was differences. And then the next meeting, we kind of looked at that and changed the wording, looked at the RSAs again and cited them and
So this complies with RSA 202A.
yes.
We want to walk through it section by section.
We can, absolutely.
And I looked at, I guess the other night, I looked at side by side with against what Connor had put forward. And I printed out one page from the original document that we had given Connor. Because one of the differences later on in the document is who pays for some stuff. You know, the town and their facilities manager will be responsible for managing things like pest control and so on. But it comes out of the library's budget. And I think I'd like to talk to Connor again about what needs to come separately be in our budget versus in their budget, where they're going to be tracking it anyway. It sounds minor, but I think it's worth discussing again. So to start at the beginning, I think do you want
The
to?
very first paragraph.
Yeah, start with the human resources section.
Okay.
Actually, the very first paragraph, we changed a little bit.
There's a tiny bit. So in the section that starts the sentence by mutual agreement, that we modified that sentence slightly. So it read by mutual agreement, the town and the library reassign certain statutory duties and responsibilities in support of cost saving efficiencies and improved level of service to residents and employees. And then we changed that to
By mutual agreement, the town and the library will work in concert in support of cost saving efficiencies and improved level of service to residents and employees.
Oh, I see, where, because he had it, they reassigned certain statutory duties. I don't think we can reassign
Right.
So
statutory.
we modified that
Yeah.
one sentence in that
Mhm.
first paragraph.
Mhm.
That's the only change there. In the next paragraph down, the town will provide human resource services. And we added as follows to the library, and then we bulleted the services.
And we got a list from
Yeah.
Liz, so do you want to just read the whole section or?
Well, just for my benefit, what is
Okay.
Great West?
It's a, retirement savings. It's a.
Okay, so this is New Hampshire Retirement Service.
Yes.
Mhm.
Great West is
Great West is an additional one you can pay into.
a
like-
voluntary.
Yeah, we have some people who actually use
Okay.
that.
And obviously dental and health insurance.
And then all those areas below are what Liz
Yeah,
meant, what human resources provides for the library.
okay.
So we'll be looking for that to continue.
In the next section, I had a question on that. Library has its own policies and procedures manuals in place. The library will annually in January submit any trustee approved changes made to these manuals. And I wondered, are we really just talking about the personnel manual or other manuals? Because you change procedures all the time.
Yes.
Like, they don't need to know about, we're gonna let people renew something automatically. I wonder if that's what we really just want to say, personnel manual.
Personnel manual, okay. Two. Mhm.
In the next section,
All right, next section, the town will maintain wage and benefits offerings.
where's that?
Oh, sorry. The town will provide payroll services. Is that the one we're at?
No,
No,
three,
I'm number
Board of
3.
Trustees, Library Director.
Okay,
First
sorry,
page.
yeah. All right, so the Board of Trustees, that's right.
Board of
We
Trustees and the
modified that
library.
quite a bit.
Yeah, we did. So the Board of Trustees and the Library Director will be involved in all employment actions in the library, including hiring, firing, and discipline to ensure compliance with the Library Policy Manual and RSA 202A. The Library Director will consult with the Human Resources Administrator regarding personnel matters relating to employment law and will relay pertinent information to the Board of Trustees. Such information will facilitate trustee decisions and ensure compliance with state and federal law.
The only change I would suggest in that is in the first sentence. I would say Board of Trustees and the library director will be responsible for rather than involved in. It sounds like there's other people then involved in those decisions beyond. Is that okay with you guys?
Mhm.
Any other comments on that section? Questions? Okay, next one. The payroll services.
We didn't have much to change in payroll services. The only thing that we were questioning was the pay schedule, where in the original draft, it said the town reserves the right to make changes to the time and attendance program and pay schedule as necessary. We modified that to,
Any changes to the pay schedule must be approved by the Board of Trustees.
The next one talked about wage and benefits and the classification. So what is the pay schedule? What does that mean? It just occurs to me now.
We don't know. That's what was our question.
We were,
Pay
does that
schedule,
mean,
how often you get paid weekly.
That's what we thought it could be as simple as that, but we just didn't know what it meant.
do you have any idea what that means, Dan?
I'm thinking it's the numbers that go with each of the steps and each of the.
Well, that's the scale. That's the next section, wage and. I'm wondering if they mean by schedule, this is a question we'll have to ask Connor, I guess.
Right.
Do they mean whether you pay weekly or whether the town
They
goes
might wanna change the
bi-weekly?
how
and
they
you have
wanna
to get
change.
the Labor board.
Yeah, well, right now I pay whatever, 2 weeks, so.
Yeah.
They might want to go monthly or go weekly.
Seven.
And then have to have.
Unless it's weekly, you have to
We are-
get Board of Labor, I think, approval, or the
We
Labor
are
Department
weekly
has to
right
approve.
now. We are weekly right
You're
now.
weekly now, and
And-
that's the standard, that's the default.
Yes, and they asked
if
if
you
we
go-
wanted, how we felt about bi-weekly, and everybody was universally down on it.
So that, I think, is probably what pay schedule means then.
Yep.
So we wouldn't change, we wouldn't do differently than the town on that, because that would not be manageable.
No.
But maybe just make sure that's what
Yeah.
it means. That's what we just weren't sure what they meant. But if it's just
Yeah,
as simple
right.
as that, then that's right. That would be.
Okay. Then the wage and benefit offerings is number 5.
okay. So we were fine with the beginning of that, and then under pay plan and classification program, we made changes to that, so,
That's fine.
yeah.
So under that, we wrote, the Board of Trustees will establish and maintain a pay plan and classification program for all employees in alignment with the town pay plan and classification program to maintain internal equity among municipal employees. The library may determine an employee's placement and a classification during hire, promotion, or for good cause.
Okay,
All right.
and the benefits are pretty much. Did you make any changes in that section?
The only other thing is, I did that one, that was fine, and the benefits was all okay.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yep.
And in the next section, the town and library will work together to prepare and track library budget and capital needs. There were no changes made there. Next section 5, the town and library will maintain open communication. The only question that we had, and we just changed one word, under the library will welcome the liaison appointed by the select board and their input at library trustee meetings. And then it said permitted to attend all meetings of the library trustees, and we thought that should say public meetings.
Okay. And we have, I think, we can always include other members of the public in a non-public, but they're sworn to the same secrecy. That's right. Okay,
True or not?
so traditionally,
And how can it be non-public if the public's invited?
there,
You can
Well,
invite.
yes. what were we gonna say, John?
No.
And what we've done for a long time now is have not just the attendance of the select board liaison, but we have you on the agenda. I mean,
I appreciate that. Thanks. I appreciate it.
yeah. So I hear what you're saying. Maybe the word should be, instead of permitted, will be invited or expected to attend.
Okay,
One of those words.
I like
Robert's
it.
right. Everybody's permitted.
Can be invited, maybe?
Well, I
I
think.
think it's more, I think it's more of an obligation.
Yeah,
This part is more of an obligation to the select board.
Okay.
Than it is to you, basically.
but we like it.
Well, no, I think
think
that, but I mean,
it's
it's saying
Right.
that the
Instead,
select board has an obligation
yeah,
to have a liaison.
so we can't very well say we expect them to, because we can't.
So I think the word invited would be better.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah.
I was talking about, maybe I missed it. I thought you said
And then-
something about non-public, but the public can be invited if so long as it's sworn to secrecy.
Generally, but you can invite a person beyond the library director and the trustees.
If they have some
If we
involvement
have-
in the
if
discussion.
some Non-public for some reason, let's say it's a reputational thing. And we felt we needed Wendy in to attend because the reputation has to do with the children's parent or something like that. And we're talking about, do we ban the parent? I'm making this up.
Right.
Do we have to ban this parent because they're so unruly? We would probably want to hear from Wendy. So she would not be a member of, but we could invite her into the non-public.
Okay.
And obviously people who, like if we had that parental thing, or somebody else, a problem patron, we could invite them to attend in non-public for the discussion.
Right, so,
So that's how that actually works.
but whoever's involved with
On
it.
what it was. Who should be present from the NHLT
Oh,
website?
yeah,
Yeah. So it does, I mean, it's pretty much what you said, that you can invite someone. But, and there's actually,
If they can,
if they can help with the discussion.
if they're
Yes.
involved with the discussion, whatever you discuss about, just randomly, you can't.
But the little paragraph at the end was kind of said, in short, it is best to exclude anyone whose presence is not essential. This may mean excusing the town administrator and or the recording secretary and instead having one of the board members take minutes. Whether to do this is a judgment call to be made by the board.
I remember that was when I was on the select board.
And
The then secretary sat in on all the non-public meetings and took the minutes. And somewhere along the line, it was like, we don't, I was on the board then, but
sure,
they decided they didn't want the administrative executive secretary to be in that meeting. I don't know what we do now,
now she is, so.
but she's back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very much discretion. My
Yeah.
interpretation of the law is that it's very discretionary. That you invite the people that you need to to conduct that business. And not everyone needs to be there in the world, but there are people that may be very pertinent to what you're discussing.
Well, they can provide information that helps, make a decision.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
But that's always your discretion.
Okay, anybody else have any other comments on that section? Otherwise, we're going to number 8.
The town.
Oh, I had, on my copy, I had 8A, and then the next page
You've got 2 A's.
Yeah.
was another
The numbers
page.
could have gotten mixed
Well,
up,
and
so.
this, it didn't, the town will provide the following services when the town's operating budget with no additional funding requirements for the library. And then it didn't list the services.
Yeah, it does.
It just went on to the town through its working
Doesn't it pull
Yeah.
out all the services?
I don't know, I was kind of.
You've got two A's, it should either be an A,
Because there's a
one
here,
or
town
what?
Okay.
And it does a following with a colon. and
So
then-
that needs to be a B.
Mhm.
Easily
Okay,
changed.
so we should just re-letter these.
Mhm.
Okay.
We've already got a B, if it's an A, I think the way. It
Yeah.
should go A1,
Well, this should be done in one.
A1. But the rest of them are just dots anyway, you don't have the rest of them. right? So I think you just make that on dot, unless because it doesn't seem to be separate. I have a
Other than that, there were no changes in that motion.
quick question. It says the town will provide the following services within the town's operating budget with no additional funding requirements of the library. And then on the next page, it says grounds maintenance, mowing and snow removal within its own operating budget of the library.
Within the
So,
town's operating budget, as opposed to the library's operating budget.
all right.
Yeah, I
It's a
think
library, okay.
I think this might need a little, like, the next one says the library, under this section, the library will maintain all gardens on the library property. So that doesn't really involve the working facilities manager.
Well, we didn't change any of, this was all from
Okay.
Connor that he.
Okay. It may be, it might need to reorganize these to get them in the right place, I think.
That can be down under C then, because the library responsible to coordinate, plan and budget for the following. That can be under the,
Yeah, I
Under
think that
C.
would go to C.
This one,
And it is under C again. garden
yeah, it
maintenance.
doesn't say it's already there, so yeah.
Yeah, so that we can just delete that.
Strike it.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
one line. And
I don't think we changed this one. We
Yeah.
didn't, there was nothing else changed.
when I first presented suggestions to Connor, I suggested that the town include the generator maintenance and pest control services. I probably suggested they include a lot of stuff in their budget as opposed to ours, and he sort of had a different opinion on that. I looked at some other library that has a generator, and they have that under the town. They had it like things outside of the library building proper are the town's responsibility, and this was, I think, Wolfboro. They had the generator under the town. As it is, the town,
Who's responsible
the
for the parking
facilities
lot?
manager is gonna have the generators reviewed, just like they do all the other generators in town. So
And who's responsible for the parking lot?
the parking lot, as far as the plowing and that sort of thing, the town.
And the maintenance.
And the maintenance, that's not clear.
No.
At this,
Because I was gonna say that's outside, just like the generator is.
Yeah. And when we get the whole building project done, my expectation is that we will have it cracked, filled, and
And then
sealed
paved
and painted.
okay.
And it's more like curbing or something like that, if there was something dangerous with the curbing. I don't know. And it sounds like the facilities manager will manage getting that done. But I think the town administrator's desire is that all of that be within our budget, which is a little challenging to budget for, as opposed to having a larger budget like for the whole town.
Is this a generator or,
This is the generator, the new one here, yes.
so is the town doing that now?
Pardon?
Is the town responsible for that one?
Yes, yeah, that's not ours. The town had that installed for this building. I think they used ARPA money or something to get those generators.
Yeah, there are 3 generators from ARPA funds.
But if this is the rec building and the town's responsible for that,
Right,
then I think the town will be responsible for our generator also.
I think it's still worthwhile to continue that conversation about exactly which of those expenses. I know Connor is always very interested in having great transparency, and I think that's a good idea as well. But they can be fully transparent because they track those expenses separately. So it's not hard to be transparent and report them. I just think, personally, I think it makes more sense to have some of that come out of the town budget itself. It's a town building, even though we're responsible for it, so So I think I'd like to have a further discussion with Connor before we put that in on those two items.
Okay.
Right. Um, But now, like, if we had a plumbing problem here and we call the plumber and they come,
Mhm.
we pay for that?
We pay.
We pay for that.
I hate to say, it, that's what the agreement pretty much over in Nottingham was. They took care of the downtown, and we took care of the uptown. So anything that happened inside was our problem, including overflowing toilets.
Yeah.
And roof leaks, but that was a roof. And that tends to be almost the saying around most in New Hampshire is like the library is responsible for what goes on within its four walls, and if it's outside,
And so that gets the question also about siding repair, roofing, windows and stuff like
it
that.
all comes from the same pool. It's just, yeah, it's all
The
taxpayer funded.
challenge with trying to include all of this in the library budget is it forces us to budget more as an in case, because we don't have a big pot of money to draw on. So that's why I think it makes more sense to have it in the town budget, where they're gonna have a bigger buildings.
Well,
So
it seems strange to say, all right, we're gonna have a generator and they have a maintenance contract. So you're gonna put that generator under the maintenance contract and it's gonna, 8 of them are gonna be paid out of the town's funds, but the 9th one is ours. So Jim has to tell me how much I have to put in my budget to pay for.
Well, that's what I meant about, if
Yeah.
they cover this one, they ought to cover ours too.
Well, I would just want us to be under the maintenance contract.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, it's cheaper to have 9 under one than a separate contract.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, but there's different nuances. Is it gonna be under the contract, but yes, the money is still gonna look like it's coming out of our budget? Or is it gonna be under the same umbrella and it's gonna be under somebody else's? It's just a matter of which line it's in.
Okay, I'm just writing a note to myself.
I think one of the concerns is going to be that the town has very limited say on what goes on here appropriately. But there would be concern on this, because it's all going to come out of the same pocket. Everyone's going to reach in and fill out their $1,132 for an average house in this town. But that at least presents to the community what the library actually costs as a separate entity from the decision-making that the town can do as opposed to the decision-making that is appropriately the libraries. And I think that's the concern now.
But it
You
makes
can
us,
argue it either way, but
if we have a 6% increase generally, but all of a sudden we've got 8%, 9% transferred from what the town used to cover to us. Now it looks like we've got a 15-20% increase instead of a 6%. But I guess it's, and we're gonna
that's
tell
what the
that.
library costs.
Right.
basically.
Makes sense, I guess.
I think that.
I can see the rationale for that, yeah.
Mhm.
My interpretation.
Well, and I understand that my thinking has been, because of the uncertainty of some of these things, we'll have a new building essentially, so it's not gonna have the roof falling in the next 30 years. So none of us will have to worry about that, but, you know, big ticket items. It just, but I think, you know, we deal with transparency to the extent that any expenses like this can be broken out. You can say, this is how much the library cost this year. And how much of that comes out of the town portion or the town budget. I don't know. It's just a logistics thing, not a deal breaker by
In
any
ways, it's a happy to go ahead.
Pardon?
It's a happy to go out and change in some ways. It's a long story, but happy to go out. I mean, you just change the word.
Well, so I just want to have another round of discussion with Connor about that. When we talked about it, I think I asked him, will you do the same here then for the rec department? Because now rec will have this whole building, so it's easy to say, here's what the rec program costs in entirety. And he said no. And I thought, well, why wouldn't we do that if we're about transparency about the cost of these different programs. So we'll see, but anyhow, so the rest of this is pretty much there.
Yeah.
So, well, I think you guys did a great job. But any comments from trustees? Thank you. So I will make a couple of edits that we talked about. And I'll probably maybe star or put in color things for when I send it over to Con. And then we'll set up I'm looking at Liz, probably Liz and I'll go back over. And if one of you people wants to join us, since you work through the detail, we'd be happy to.
Do my best.
Okay, okay, you posted. So, great. I am gonna ask for a motion to, what do I want to say? I'd like the trustees to actually vote to approve the draft as edited to share with the town, recommend to the town. And I'm sure there'll be a little more back and forth, but are you comfortable with that?
I just know we should make a motion since we don't get that exactly.
I make a motion to
So Robert's making a motion to,
accept the changes as edited to the memorandum of understanding between the library and the town.
get that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll second that.
And Ezra seconded, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Well, again, thank you very much. I appreciate those couple of extra meetings on your schedule. The custodial services contract, we did not vote on that contract, but now we have a recommendation to accept the contract that was presented by Citywide. And is there a motion to approve that contract? The amount of the contract for this.
Were we
building,
going for the 3 times per week?
3 times a week, and how much was that? It was
It was $835 a month.
825,
35.
835 a month, which is less than what we were paying the custodian
$835 a
a
month.
month.
Yes.
And that would be
3 times a week.
for service 3 times a week. And what we had when we budgeted for the custodian was 2 hours a day, 2 hours a night. And then for 5 days a week, and then 1 hour extra that we would accumulate to do things like an extra job shampooing the rug. We haven't had nightly service for quite a while, I think. No. So I think we concluded that 3 times a week would be sufficient as far as bathrooms and all that cleaning. We'll see how that goes. So is there a motion to approve the citywide contract for $835 a month?
I'll make a motion. Citywide contract for $835 a month.
I'll
Yeah.
second.
Lydia seconded. All in
Is-
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Is that, what about snow removal as far as cleaning the
That's not
sidewalk?
included in that
That's not.
contract.
Okay, do we have somebody to do that? Or do you guys just
The
de-emphasize by?
The town took that on when we moved the shed
Okay,
and we moved things out of the way. They said they can do that. And then we bought an electric broom. So if in between, if there's a snowstorm during the day and it's a
We
little
can
bit
get up
rough,
there and
we have an
brush it
electric broom that staff can use.
When will Citywide be starting?
Talk to them.
Okay. Communication system. Now we're back to the telephone and the communication system. Break it down for us, Liz. What are the components?
You probably don't need to know the services and features of a phone, call screening, automated call recording, optional system hold music. The monthly phone service rates for the phone server, 3 cordless phones and the 2 lines that we currently have was going to be $130 per month. That's just the service rate,
$130 a month?
$130 a month. This all came about because I was trying to talk to poor Mike on the phone about the IT, and he could only hear every other word I was saying. It was embarrassing. It's like, your phone's this bad all the time. Well, yeah, that's not, we can hear everybody fine. When you call us, we can hear you perfectly fine. You may only hear every other word we're saying to you, but we apologize. We start yelling at people. We're not meaning to yell at you. We think by speaking louder, this might fix the phone. We now know that is not going to work.
So what that means is, this is not something we do when we move. This needs to be changed immediately.
Yes. Yeah, we have a lot. Kate started calling people to tell them about their reserves on their cell phone because
So that's the monthly rate. And what is the cost to actually purchase the phones and that
the
system?
purchase setup labor is going to be $2,050.40.
You've got the 2 permanent phones and the 3 mobile ones, right?
2,000 what?
$2,050.40.
Could we just get 3 cell phones and a cell phone service with the same number for all 3? That might be cheaper.
I'm not sure I understand.
Well, you've got 3 mobile phones that you can walk around with. Instead of buying them and having them hook up to this system, can we have 3 cell phones and have the same number assigned to all 3 of those cell phones, and they can just use those? Buying those 3 cell phones and paying a monthly fee may be cheaper than that. We can look at the options anyway.
I don't know.
'Cause you
I
get,
would prefer to have these be cordless phones so people wouldn't say, oh, that's my cell phone, put it in their purse and run off with it. But
that's a good point.
I can ask Mike. He's just trying to convert our current system to a workable.
Could do like they do at some of the service stations, just put a big long stick on the end of it, so that you can't put it in your pocket, like they do the keys.
Yeah. As we walk into a door jam, trying to help somebody.
Well, we're trying to replicate the.
But yeah, we're trying to replicate
Okay.
their system.
And
on our-
support for the system and all that.
Yeah.
Is this gonna be on the same system that they have, or the same company?
Yes.
Okay.
But the 2,000 is a one-time.
That's the one-time service for purchasing everything and then putting them in, training us, taking.
Our 5 phones would be included with their 15 and 20, how many the town has already for a bigger discount?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
it. His setup labor includes determining phone system configuration with client, coordinating port of existing phone numbers to B5, building, configuring, and testing all phones at the Block 5 office, delivery of phones and prep for port dates / cutover, basic training of system and phone app cutover and testing with client on the date. So they're gonna get us off of that and onto something so that we can hopefully pick up the phone, say hello, and people can hear us.
The monthly rate of 130 doesn't seem like.
That's not
No,
bad.
the 5 phones.
And then what else for
Oh, what
communications? You said there are a couple of other aspects of.
Well, there are, that's just for the phones. I mean, there are out of scope service rates. We get a discounted rate at 20% for, if we need different remote services. Hopefully they would come in, take everything out, give us the new stuff, train us, and it would work perfectly. If there's something that we don't like about the way it works and we want them to come in and change it, we will have a discounted rate for them to make changes for us. But we aren't trying to personalize this. We'd really rather just replicate what the town is doing so that all our phone systems are talking to each other.
Okay.
Now, when the move comes about, is it gonna be another $2,000? Well, not for you.
We've already purchased and they've done the
Right.
training, they set us up. And yes, as part of the whole IT thing, he does he is, if we sign off on the whole thing, and he has, he does have monies put in here for his travel or whatever, to come and consult, like over there when they're doing the wiring. He definitely needs to be involved in that wiring for both the phones and the IT.
So tell us about the IT. That's the big numbers, right?
Yeah, that's the, so he's got his labor description of project meetings and product procurement, coordinate with client for environmental design considerations, build new VMware server, migrate the existing, migrate our whole IT system from our nice old servers onto, something newer. Build a new backup server, which would be helpful, configure the backups to everything, configure cloud backup replication of what we have now, and verify that the backup actually works. That's always helpful. If you want, I can send out, this is his managed, I've got one copy, this is his. Here's a copy. He's got his project requirements and the town of Barrington Library on-site and remote managed IT plan. So he goes into what we are going to need. We can get a 3-year agreement. We get a obvious better discount if you go with the 3-year agreement. So he's got a server update products for the server so we can go up to the latest version of Windows. And all of that is that's going to cost us $28,025. I don't say pricing for hardware software only accurate within 30 days from the time of this quote. Okay. All that's going on in the country, I don't know if things would go up at some point in time before this. We would hope not. That's for the server because we have 2 right now. We have the patron server for the patron terminals, and then we have the one for all of our stuff over here. We aren't sharing the same server.
So is this both?
Yeah, that's for both $28,000.
Okay.
We might not need Userful anymore if we go with them. So that would be a savings of like $800. That's a yearly. I mean, it's better than a sharp stick in the eye.
And the firewall?
And the firewall, yeah, he's gonna have to build that whole support for it, access points for it, switches. I'm not an IT person. I worked in IT years ago, and all this is new and exciting stuff. But for the firewall and all the products that are necessary for it, it would be $14,296.
That's on top of the 20-something years to be worth.
The firewall is different from the server. The firewall is protecting us from other people. The server is allowing us to work on what we need to work on. So so the whole shebang together would be the 14,000 plus the 28,000.
Plus the 2,000 for the phones.
So that's the 2,000 for the phones.
Now, right now, we have 3 computers for patrons. Are you planning to get an extra one or?
I was going to say, I thought we had ourselves on for having 4. And this doesn't even talk about buying new equipment for that.
Yeah.
This is just all servers and firewalls to service the old equipment we have, so we're not
Well,
even,
extra computers not going to.
Yeah. No, I think we were considering that we were going to be having 4
One
patrons.
more.
Yeah.
So, this is a lot of money, more than we have on hand. Liz is trying to estimate unspent funds in this year's budget.
Which we have a fair amount of due to staff turnover, non-custodial help, and somebody was actually on disability, which meant that we weren't paying them. That was the insurance company. So it looks like we have enough to at least pay for the firewall
And the new phones.
and the new phones. Yeah.
But that means, so the 28,000 for the servers.
And then when I found out how much we had in the capital reserve account, which is about half of what we need. Yeah, 12,900, I think is what Amy told me.
So if we had that, that still leaves,
What is those CDs for? For the building or for emergencies or for this?
what is the what?
The CDs for?
Well, that's for, it could be things like this, it
That's
could
what I'm
be,
wondering. Yeah.
or we could postpone and ask the town to add $28,000. We're already over, you know,
I would think that we use one of the CDs for the 22,000 and keep the extra money in case something else comes up.
well, I think, well, that's a good point.
If it's $25,000 and the
Yeah.
servers are 28,000 and the other is
I mean, we're looking at
14.
$40,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's say we have 25,000 of operating expense money that we won't have spent. I'm making up a number, but that's what it's been for.
That's
Then we need to come up with 15,000. A good chunk of which, you know, at least 10,000 out of the tech fund. Just bringing it down, but we need to really get those numbers home down before we renew.
What about the 5,000 from Seacoast that they're donating?
There, that's to the building project, not for that.
Okay.
Good thought.
That's
I
fine.
mean,
Yeah,
well, we don't have to go, I mean, right now, in the budget I have written for next year, I've got us just, the phones will be adding, but I've got a status quo on the IT through June, because in my mind, it doesn't make a lot of sense. We're on that cheapy plan with, Back Bay. So in the budget I wrote, the first 6 months, it's status quo. We're doing what we're doing, and then we're switching all over the block 5 once
So
we
we think
get.
that would make sense just to have,
so you're saying we
Still on
could
the
wait
next
on the
If we want to use,
servers.
if we want, yeah, we could wait on the servers, but if you want to,
you said you need the phones now, though.
the phones have to be now, because people can't hear,
Right.
I'm surprised, and if we did the firewall now, that's
I think
separate
that's-
from the servers, we can still do that.
That's
The fact that we
separate.
have no firewall.
Well, we
Now.
have something going on, but and he hasn't, yes, apparently, we just, Back Bay, if we're having an emergency, we can call them. If somebody hacks into us, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't think we want to pour tons of money into it. Supposedly, they do virus and all that, so they may be doing something, but our firewall and everything is definitely out of license at this point.
So that'll be easily transferred to the new building?
Yes.
Okay. 'Cause that's
So
gotta be behind the scenes.
it sounds like we have enough in the operating budget to do the phones and the firewall.
Firewall. If the firewall is actual equipment, we can purchase
We
it.
can purchase that. And then the servers, we can revisit that in another month or so and see.
Yeah, we can, I mean, I
How
can
the
talk
dollar
with
goes.
Mike again and say, do you want to discuss this now, or can we discuss it? We are thinking we're just gonna stay status quo for funding the budget with what we've got now, because we're still under contract with Back Bay. Not that they're very
I think
helpful.
our treasurer is doing some math over here. Okay. I think I would suggest that we have a motion to approve using current year operating funds to purchase the new phone system and the firewall, because we know we have enough money to do that in the operating budget. Does that sound like a reasonable plan?
Yes. Yes.
Robert, are you okay with that?
Yep.
Well,
I was waiting to see if anybody, I was waiting to see if anybody else was gonna make a motion before I did, but I'll make a motion that we spend from the current operating budget for this year for a new phone system and a firewall.
And that dollar amount is gonna be approximately $16,350 approximately.
Approximately how much?
$16,350
Thank you.
approximately.
It's gotta be a pretty big wall for $16,000.
Oh, that's like the phone.
So that's the
Right, about
motion. Is there a
14,000.
second to that motion?
I'll second.
Melanie seconded. Any more discussion on that topic? Not, all in favor?
Yeah,
Uh,
Opposed? Okay, With respect to the servers, I think, what we're gonna do is, I think if we want to do them soon, we would need to really get the numbers very clear before we renew another CD, if it needs to be done, this fiscal year. The money in the tech account is, the trustees are the agents to expend. We can confirm what's in there and spend a lot of that. And then make up the difference out of one of our CDs. I don't know what other cash we have on hand, but we're talking, if about 10,000, and now we're down to 18,000, maybe another 5 from operating expense, that brings it down to, it seems to me we're gonna be in the need of about 15,000 if we wanna do that now.
Again, if we're gonna take the CD out, we might as well just spend the whole thing on that and keep the extra money in the operating budget for other,
Well, the
Proceeds.
operating budget, we only have like 2 months left in the operating budget year, so to be honest, I'd
Well, that
rather we
money's gonna-
take the opportunity to
but
spend the money.
that extra money's gonna carry over till next year if we don't spend it,
Not
right?
for us, no,
No.
it goes back to the general fund.
I thought that was
Anything in our operating budget,
even the
our town
extra.
appropriation,
I meant was the tech fund.
the tech fund stays around it, we don't.
Right, that's what I
We
mean.
don't have
So
to,
if we don't spend that, we spend the CD instead. That way,
or something, you're
because
right.
if we spend all the tech money and we need the
And we
CD,
need
then we're
tech,
gonna
then
get
we
penalized,
use
then we're
our
gonna get
funds.
penalized to
Yeah.
take the CD out early.
I think what we need to do is, I'm gonna suggest that Liz and Melanie just meet separately to go over these numbers and look at exactly what we have on hand. I'm not sure it's wise to take every dollar except $1 out of that tech fund. And I think that's a little bit of what you're saying too.
Well, I think we just ought to save that.
Something in there,
Yeah,
just in
if
case
we can use
need it.
1,000 of the tech fund, we can use 5,000 of the tech fund, we can use whatever.
Yeah.
If the CD is already rolled over, we can't use 5,000 or 1,000, we gotta take the whole thing out to pay the penalty.
I don't think, we're not gonna roll over though, if we're gonna take from one bank. Right, we're going to take from TD and we're going to deposit that money into First Seacoast and then we can decide what we're going to do with it, with no
Yeah.
penalty.
That's true. Since it's coming out, we can just easily roll over a 25,000 CD, but the
Take
other
out
one.
the 25,000, put it in the bank, and then
Right.
if spend some and then get
That's what Melanie's
a,
saying, put some in
right,
the.
and then get a
savings account.
$20,000 CD
Have
instead
access
or
to.
something.
Too, and then, once
Okay.
we know for sure what we're doing, then we do.
How much we're gonna spend and how much we're gonna put in the CD, that makes sense.
All right, I'll go with that.
Okay,
But you
So
can
we
hold
have-
it with a one.
did we vote on did we vote on that last one?
The motion was made.
The motion was made and seconded to spend 16,000.
Yeah, we voted on that.
And some dollars out of operating funds for the phone system and the firewall. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. As far as the servers,
I'm good.
we're gonna have a little bit more research done on costs and availability of funds, various sources of funds. And then maybe at our next meeting, we can make a decision on. It's not so much a decision of, are we gonna get the servers? It's how we're gonna pay for them and what sources we're gonna use to pay for them, so. Okay. The other thing I sent you, purchasing policy. We want to have this policy replicate pretty much the town purchasing policy. Connor sent me the most current version of their purchasing policy. And at first I started going through that and just replicating the whole thing. But their policy ends up going into procedures as well. And we like to sort of separate those. So what I sent you is just the purchasing policy section. And this is pretty much exactly what the town is using. They set different, our old policy, if you looked at it, it's online, followed exactly what the town's was, but they have increased the limits that go to what requires a purchase order and what goes out to bid and what you need multiple quotes for. And this is exactly what the town has. I used their exemptions. I think there was one or two that didn't apply to us that I might have dropped out.
It seems to me $7,500 is a lot for library director to spend without trustee approval. I don't know if she'd ever spend that much. I
It says
think
without no purchase order required.
maybe, but it says maybe approved by the
Yeah.
library director. And the next one says over 7,500, it requires approval of the trustees. I'm just thinking 7,500 is a lot.
Well, technically, I mean, we would be saying Liz would be authorized to approve that. But it would have to have been in our approved budget. I'm trying to think of what might come up that would be that high.
I can't think of anything.
I mean, we can set it lower if you prefer, but, I think what we had now was, oh, I can't even remember. I want to say
25?
Whatever everybody else wants to do, that's fine. They're big in a sticking point.
other thoughts.
Well, she always comes to us for approval anyhow, right?
I think the next level is what then you're required 3 quotes. So that's the threshold that sets. So, it sounds like the majority want to leave it as is, matching the town symbol. I appreciate your point of view, Robert, and I don't think it's gonna come up either, so. I think that's, if you had a chance to read this, is there a motion to approve the purchasing policy?
I'll make a motion to approve the library purchasing policy.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Melanie seconded? All in favor?
Aye.
The other part of the town's purchasing policy really goes into invoicing, which is more procedural. It had a whole section about, and we would follow the finance office's requirements as far as purchase orders. It even had things like you will write on the top, if you order this, you will put, that's when I thought it was getting very procedural. So I separated out that and sent it to Melanie. I think I sent it to Melanie and Liz for them to take a look at and see if there are other policies that are not policies, other procedures that are dealing with financial management that you want to incorporate in that. And so, in the next couple of months, if you two want to get together and bring forward something, it's not urgent because they'll follow the current policies for invoicing anyway. Okay, moving right along. It sounds, how did we
You've
get to
got
be?
5 minutes.
No, I've got 10 minutes.
Because there's other items there.
Well, I know, I'm gonna be very fast. But this is mostly just in keeping you up to date, the library building project update. The library, building committee had its last meeting last Thursday, and I just got the minutes, which I will forward out to you, so I won't belabor those minutes. It was basically, we went over, Bowen went over all the, subcontractor bids that they got for every single category, reviewed them. They recommended the low bidder in all cases, and we accepted that. They knew a lot of them. They're well-known companies that do drywall and roofs and stuff like that. There were some with local contacts, so that was good to see. We also identified that there were a couple things. This was geared towards the end result of this, I should just say, is I just blanked on it. guaranteed maximum, GMP, guaranteed maximum price. So they take all of those bids, they add them up. And I can send you all that detail if you're interested, and Liz has it as well. And that generates a contract amendment with our Bowen contract. So the guaranteed maximum price came out to be, this is just for the construction portion. We have it somewhere. Not that one. Just printed it out before I left the house. Here it is, 1,000,000, $1,895,956. So that is a contract amendment that Melanie and I signed and got it back to Bowen on Friday, so that they needed that amendment signed in order for them to get the bond, the performance bond, and the insurance policy. And so that has been done. That actually is a little bit less than what was in the budget that they had originally proposed. A couple items came out of that we'll be paying directly, that will not go through Bowen, like the heating, the propane heating to keep the workers warm during the winter, that sort of thing. They work started yesterday. What they're doing this week, the Bowen, several workers from Bowen are there this week. They're taking off all the doors, all the cherry doors. They're taking off as much of the trim as they can for reuse, the cherry wood trim. If you went, I'm sure you've all been in the building, all those cabinets and all the different examining rooms, which we do not need. And those were just going to be trash, basically. It was going to be more expensive to try and have somebody save them. But Jason, the architect, there was somebody over in that part of the state who, a retired vet, they are building and opening a wildlife, what's the word? Rehab center. And so Jason asked, were we willing or interested in donating to them the cabinetry? They would have to come and mark it and take it away by Thursday or Friday of this week. And the committee said, sure, that keeps it from going into a dumpster. And so I actually saw them there yesterday marking cabinetry. And so anyway, we're underway. Next,
That will save the contractor money.
It saves us, they said, actually, it'll be, it saves a little money. It'll be sort of a wash ultimately, but it's less expense in some respects on the demo crew. The demo crew will be starting work next Monday, and they expect that we will be able to move in mid to late June. Still, everything being on track. As I said, I have a list of all the subcontractors, if anybody's interested in that. Of note, probably the biggest one of note is that the electrical contractor is going to be Secosha Electric. So actually, we're kind of pleased. He came in with a very good bid, and they talked with him a number of times. He's done commercial projects before. And so I'm kind of excited about that. There was another company that the company is like located in Concord, but the owner lives in Barrington. There were a few that had Barrington connections like that.
That's great.
Which was nice to hear as well. And others are mostly New Hampshire. There are a few that are, one or two that was Massachusetts or Maine. I think I have to look again. So they got competitive bids on everything. And I think that was really helpful.
Susan, could you send that? I just would be interested in people ask too, because sometimes people ask that question.
Yeah.
Are they local or?
Yes. And I think they did a little PowerPoint for us, which we have. And this is what I have is the summary of subcontractor bids. And I think Roger, who does the minutes for our building committee, I think he may have noted, and he did, who are the winners of the bids. Doesn't tell you where they're from, but
Right.
I don't know most of these players. But
I have a question.
I know the Casework and Millwork is a local owner. Dennison Cabinets.
I have a question.
Yes.
I passed there and I thought I saw a sign for rent.
Not anymore.
Oh, they took it down today?
We've,
Police.
Roger Gingrich and John Capasso took the for sale
Sales on.
Yeah.
signs down. So it just, the only sign that's there now is Barrington Library coming soon.
I have another question. I was reading Roger's notes and he said something about, and maybe it's already taken care of, that there were 2 gurneys and 6.
That was the
Patient
prior,
tables.
yes.
I'm thinking if they left them, then, and we bought it, then they're ours, and can't we sell them?
Well, we had them take them out.
Okay.
There's not really a we asked if the, fire and rescue, if they were interested in these gurneys and stuff, they looked expensive. And they said they didn't have any use for them. And so it was gonna end up either in our, our public works people putting it in the transfer station or something. I'm not sure there's much of a market for used medical stuff. But anyway, we had them take that out. It needed to be basically, I'm gonna say broom clean, but it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was broom clean, but it was cleaned out.
Would these people
Loose
take,
terminology.
Yeah, that's
Clean.
that's realtor.
I always try to make sure to tell my clients that, don't expect too much.
could it be that the folks that are taking the cabinets might be interested in those?
Well, they're gone now, but I don't think they would have been. Actually, there was one thing that they didn't have their tape on it, and I thought, gee, this looks like a dry sink. They could wash a dog in this or something,
Yeah.
but they chose what they knew they were gonna need. So that's taken care of. The closing actually was the 7th, last Monday. And as I say, they started things that we have left to deal with on owner responsibilities. Obviously, the security system, that's another huge ticket item that Liz and I'll be reviewing, that we cannot afford the $60,000 that the company that the town uses recommended. So we're gonna have to start with our pushes on it. Fixtures and equipment.
Big dog and put it in there.
As you know, from last time, Liz got the bid on shelving and is getting other furniture, I guess, bids and companies involved at this point.
Yeah, well, it's gonna cost us, well, to reupholster all those chairs out there, say we're gonna take all those blue ones with us. It's gonna cost us about $7,500 to reupholster all those and have them tuned up.
But they're good furniture,
Well, they'll last forever.
so I think
Yeah,
that'll be worth it.
How many are there? 4?
There's 4 comfy chairs and there's 17 of the.
5 chairs.
Oh, okay. I was
And
gonna
we're
say, that
taking all
sounds
those tables, all that stuff is gonna get reused, so. So there'll be more information coming by around the 1st of February. The Bowen said we'll be far enough into the project, we'll know how much is gonna be left in the contingency funds, and that's the point, probably around February. I think February is when we're gonna need to actually put in the orders on those things, because they can take 3 months, as you know, if you ordered anything. It takes 3 or 4 months to get that stuff in. And we'll also be looking at other fixtures, do we need other screens, computer screens, lots of stuff like that. So that'll be happening over the next couple months. And then the solar energy is still on our list, and there's good progress being made on that score. So that's the building report, and I think I sent you Roger's summary of their fundraising. I attached that, didn't I? So that's really the foundation report. As you can see, we did get the 15,000 from First Seacoast Bank. And then you can see the various other grants that have been submitted, and there's another one going in for November 1st, and then one in January. We probably won't get them all, but these are much more local source grant funds, so that we hope will be successful in that respect. They've also put in a request for the Fabulous Fine Boutique, if you know of that place over in Kittery. And what they do is a charity shop, but a very high-end charity shop. And every month, they select 3 nonprofits in the general region and they split their profits among those 3 programs. the Lee Library Foundation was selected, and last year they got a check for over $9,000. I know the Cornerstone VNA has been one of their recipients over a couple of years, and they usually got between $8,000 and $9,000. So they're a very successful group.
Doesn't Joanne do that with this thrift shop?
And
in town?
Joanne does, they usually do $1,000. So this, obviously, this is a bigger ticket, and they gave $1,000 to the Friends of the Library a couple of years ago, maybe. So, the other thing that the foundation is doing is they're participating in Giving Tuesday, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving.
Very nice.
And they have some matching funds, so the people who donate funds, they have some donors who are matching those funds, so hoping to get, a substantial income there. So they're very busy. And if they're very successful, and most of these grants are written for solar and furniture. They're not specific to only solar. There's one, I think the Dreyfus one of those, I think it's Dreyfus, is only funding energy type projects. So that's specifically what that one is being requested for. So that's the foundation report. The Friends report.
Big book sale, or make sure you come, there's gonna be, how many?
95 boxes.
95 boxes of books that be all kinds of books, and we're also hoping to have our raffle. So I already got some nice gifts here, nice raffle.
I need to talk to you about that.
Okay.
Because I've got the raffle cans in the basement.
Oh, yeah,
I have to
yeah.
put that up.
Then we'll also be doing the raffle at voting, so, and maybe also at the craft fair.
Okay. Excellent. And I don't see any need for a non-public session. Does anybody else? The one thing I guess I'm going to add is, would we like to recommend Diane for a alternate library trustee slot?
Are you ready?
I'm ready. That appointment would be until March, because they always go March to March. So we would ask the select board to consider her appointment and appoint until March, and then come March, we'd need to redo that again.
We don't have any other alternates right now, or do we?
Well, Richard was our
Oh,
alternate,
that's
Richard
right.
is now
So
officially
you used to use
appointed.
the-
Have you got notice to go to this?
I didn't get a notice then.
Okay, well, you might want to call the town clerk. I think you have to get sworn in again even though you're sworn in as alternate, you need to get sworn again.
It's one of your things.
It's a semi-religious thing, you have to be sworn again.
And usually the town clerk gets around to that, and you'll get a call from her, but you could go ahead and contact the town clerk's office.
If you show up Monday night.
So Karen is our
select
only
board member,
alternate now,
sorry,
and it would be great to have
you'll
them
show
involved.
up. Select board meeting.
So
Gosh.
I'd like a motion,
This month.
you can put this back under new business. I'd like a motion to recommend Diane, and last name?
Madariaga.
Madera.
Madariaga. So exactly how it's.
Her last name.
You need to go up.
Madariaga. I take lots of different ones, but, and I.
Madariaga.
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 Diane Madariaga, and we'll have Diane complete the request for appointment form. There's a form that on the town website.
Yeah, if you could get it done this week, we can put it on the agenda and we'll
For next-
consider you, and then 2 weeks after
Right.
that, we vote, so if you can get it in before.
Thursday?
The week could be good, yeah, before Thursday.
When once you get that form.
I will send you the link. Or Diane, if you want to give me your email, I can send it directly to you. That's the easiest way. I found it on the town
Or
website.
if you can go by.
Okay, I will connect the two of you. Well, you've got her email because under the BCC.
I don't see the BCC.
Okay, I'll connect you two.
Okay, we'll get that taken care of. So is there a motion to recommend Diane for an alternate appointment?
I'll make that motion.
Let's make the motion and Richard seconded.
Oh, Richard seconded. Okay, you beat me.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, and no, we don't need a non-public, so is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All in favor?
Time it's, you know, it's.
7:06. 7:06, that's not too bad.
Oh, that's very good.